Yo, this is the honors pre-calculus. We're gonna be working on more questions about the unit circle. This is part one. Okay, we got part two coming up. So let's get started with number 12. So number 12, cosine 420. Basically, you're gonna have to spin one full circle counterclockwise, and then you have to spin 60 degrees more. Okay, so in order to determine what this is equivalent to, so all you need to do is subtract 360 and then you're going to get 60 degrees. So you can say that cosine 420 degrees is basically saying cosine 60 degrees. Okay, so which means that your theta is going to be 60 degrees. You can come up with the ratios of all three sides. It's going to be 1 for the adjacent, rad 3 for the opposite, and 2 for the hypotenuse. Okay, so cosine, we know that cosine is x over r, right? So x over r is going to be 1 over 2. All right, so this time we're going to have to first convert this to degrees. That's going to be 750. Okay, so the way to put the terminal side on the unit circle is that you just subtract 360 and then subtract another 360. My goal is to get it under 360 degrees. So that's going to give you 30 degrees, which means that your theta is going to be 30 degrees. The opposite side is going to be 1. The adjacent is going to be rad 3. And hypotenuse is going to be 2. Okay, so we know that secant is r over x. Okay, so r is 2 over rad 3. What you need to do here is you have to multiply by rad 3 over rad 3. So it's going to be 2 rad 3 over 3. Next one, 28. So this is, you don't have to solve for anything. We just need to know that sine is y. Okay, so when they say y is less than 0, which means that your y is going to be a negative. Cosine is x and is greater than 0, which means that x is going to be a positive value. Okay, so positive for the x, negative for the y. So if you just go with that direction, you're going to end up in quadrant 4. Okay, so let's look at number 34. We know that cosecant is 1 over y. Okay, so if it's greater than 0, which means that your y value is positive. Okay, so we know that y value is positive. Now look at the cosine is x and is less than 0, which means that it's going to be a negative value. So negative value, go towards the left. So you're going to end up in quadrant 2. Next one, number 36. So understand that sine is y over r. For cosine is x over r. Okay, so you can determine you can start writing the values of all three sides. We know that r is 5, y is 4, and then cosine is negative 3. Okay, so you can just come up with the rest of the trig functions. Let's do it. So the opposite, or sorry, reciprocal of sine is going to be cosecant theta. You just do the reciprocal, so that's going to be 5 over 4. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine, so it's going to be 5 over negative 3. For tangent is going to be y over x, so in this case it's going to be 4 over negative 3. And cotangent is going to be negative 3 over 4. All right, so let's look at number 42. So we already know that sine is y over r and cosine is x over r. Okay, so let's go ahead and just plug in all the length. So y is 2 rad 2 and r is 3 and negative 1 for the x. Okay, let's do the cosecant theta. Cosecant theta is the reciprocal 3 over 2 rad 2. So multiply by rad 2 over rad 2 to rationalize it. So it's going to be 3 rad 2 over 4. For secant, is going to be the reciprocal, so it's going to be 3 over negative 1, so that's going to be negative 3. For tangent, there's going to be 2 rad 2 over negative 1, so it's going to be negative 2 rad 2. Okay, so for cotangent, the reciprocal of it, so it's going to be negative 1 over 2 rad 2, and then rationalized by multiplied by rad 2 over rad 2, so it's going to be negative rad 2 over 4. All right, so let's look at number 44. Number 44, first thing you want to know is that this is going to be in quadrant 4. Okay, so I just went ahead and I drew a circle in quadrant 4, and then we know that cosine is x over r, so I just went ahead and label the two of the sides. Okay, so the one missing side is going to be y. Okay, so how do I determine y? So what you need to do first is use Pythagorean theorem. So we know that x is 3, and then you put square plus y squared, and then it's going to equal to the hypotenuse, so r squared. So it's going to be 5 squared. Okay, go ahead and solve for y. So we know this is 9 plus y squared equals to 25, and then y squared equals to 16. So y equals to positive 4 or negative 4. Okay, since y is in quadrant 4, so it's about to be a negative value, so y is going to equal to negative 4. Okay, so let's go ahead and just write down all 6 trig functions. So first of all, let's do sine. So that's going to be y over r, so that's going to be negative 4 over 5. So cosecant, the reciprocal of it, so 5 over negative 4. I'm going to repeat writing the cosine theta. That's 3 over 5. That's given, right? So secant theta is going to be 5 over 3. Okay, so tangent, it's going to be y over x. So in this case, it's going to be negative 4 over 3. And then cotangent, the reciprocal of it, the reciprocal of the tangent is going to be 3 over negative 4. All right, number 50. So we know that sine is y over r. And it says between 180 degrees and 270 degrees. So that means that your theta is going to be in quadrant 3. Okay, so I just went ahead and drew a triangle in quadrant 3 and label y as negative 2 and then r is positive 3. Okay, so let's do the rest. First, we have to figure out what x is. All right, so use negative 2 squared plus x squared equals to 3 squared. Okay, if you use your math, you can go ahead and find out that x is going to equal to positive negative radical 5. Okay, it has to be a negative value because it's on the negative x-axis. So you're going to put x equals to negative radical 5. Okay, so let's go ahead and write down all 6 trig functions. Sine theta, it's already given, so negative 2 over 3. So which means that cosecant theta is just the reciprocal of it, so 3 over negative 2. So cosine theta is negative 5 over 3. So cosecant is going to be the reciprocal of it, so it's going to be 3 over negative rad 5. Okay, I'm going to have to rationalize this. So you have to multiply by rad 5 over rad 5. So it's going to be negative 3 rad 5 over 5. Oops, tangent. So tangent is y over x. So that's going to be negative 2 over negative rad 5. All right, so you're going to have to rationalize it, and 2 negative makes it a positive. So this one, you're going to rewrite it as 2 radical 5 over 5. Okay, for the cotangent, you can just go ahead and put negative rad 5 over negative 2, and then makes the positive. So just erase the positive sign. That's all we need to do. Okay, let's look at number 56. So number 56 said that This is going to be cosine theta less than 0, which means we know that cosine is basically x. So x is less than 0 means that it's going to be a negative. Okay, so you got two possible triangles right here. It's going to be either in the quadrant 2 or quadrant 3. Now the information they gave you is that they said cotangent is 4 over 3. So cotangent is x over y, right? So if x has to be a negative value, so y has to be a negative value as well. That's how you're going to get a positive 4 over 3. Okay, so let's go ahead and label all the sides. So which means that, okay, so if y is a negative value, which means that this cannot be your correct triangle. Okay, you're not gonna have your triangle in quadrant 2. All right, so this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and erase this one. Okay, and we're gonna erase the quadrant 2 entirely. Okay, so let's just go ahead and work on quadrant 3. So we know that x is 4. So let me label 4 right here. It's going to be negative 4, my bad. And then y is going to be negative 3. Okay, so 4, 3, and then if you apply the Pythagorean theorem, so you're going to find out that the r equals to 5. Okay, so up to this point, you can go ahead and just write down all 6 trig functions. So sine theta is going to be y over x. Okay, sorry, y over r. So that's going to be negative 3 over 5. Cosecant theta is going to be the reciprocal, so it's going to be 5 over negative 3. And then cosine is going to be negative 4 over 5. Secant is going to be 5 over negative 4. Okay, tangent, we already know, oh, sorry, let's just go ahead and do the cotangent. It's going to be 4 over 3, like we did earlier. I mean, that's given, right? And then tangent means it's just going to be the reciprocal of it. It's going to be 3 over 4. All right, so last question before part 1 is over. So number 58, it says that tangent is greater than 0. Okay, so you gotta have to analyze it. So tangent. All right, so tangent is y over x. And if it's greater than 0, so it could be so which means that it could be positive for both. So it could be in quadrant 1, right? But the thing is, you could also have another possibility, y over x. If both of them are negatives, then it's going to be in quadrant 4. Okay, so look at the secant equals to negative 2. So secant is r over x. Okay, so if the secant is r over x, that means we know that r is always going to be positive, so that makes the x a negative. That's how you're going to get negative 2. Okay, so the one you have to determine, since x is negative, so we're going to have to pick this combination where y is also a negative. Okay, so let me just go ahead and actually, let me just go ahead and erase this yellow one. That's not going to be the one we're working on. Oops. Okay, so I just focus on the red. Okay, so let's just label the parts we know. So in this case, if it's a negative 2, this is going to be a little tricky. Okay, so if this is negative 2, which means that your radius is going to be a positive, so that's going to be a positive 2 in this case, and your x has to be a negative 1. Okay, if you apply Pythagorean theorem, so this one is going to be negative 3 for the opposite, for the y. Okay, so we just go ahead and write all 6 trig functions. So sine theta, it's going to be negative 3 over 2. Cosecant is going to be 2 over negative rad 3. Okay, rationalize it. You're going to get negative 2 radical 3 over 3. Okay, cosine theta is going to be negative 1 over 2. So secant is going to be negative 2, which is consistent with the original one, right? Original given condition. All right, so the tangent is going to be negative radical 3 over negative 1, which is going to be positive rad 3. Okay, so cotangent is going to be negative 1 over negative rad 3. Rationalize it, so you're going to get rad 3 over 3. That's it for part 1. More to come.